Okay, so welcome everyone to Ask Me Anything Tea Business Support Call online on Zoom and on today, 12th of October. Actually, the sun is coming out in Sydney. That's not too bad, eh? Love this time of the year. It's really fantastic. And of course, we are already in the middle of October, meaning that we are very fast approaching the Christmas time. Any of you who are wanting to, really harvest, give it your best shot in terms of getting your tea business or your tea products, going for Christmas. Don't delay, get it moving. In fact, some of the conversation we've been having now is already planning ahead, going towards promotions next year. It's always good to sort of plan, maybe say 3 months ahead of time. And of course, like last time I mentioned about, when exactly is your own, Christmas trading period that could affect, your strategy as well. So if, let's say, your December, you're only going to open the first couple of weeks, then, again, your time frame is even shorter. All right. So with that said, I want to jump straight on, and feel free to interrupt me, with your questions on chat, and we will get going. So today I'm going to start with packing. So it's relating to the postage end of things, and I'm going to share screen. Okay. All right. So while I'm sharing screen, you might notice that you will notice that I've shrunk to a small window, and we will be focusing on the screen. If you could just give me a quick yes, I can see screen kind of thing on the chat, that will be awesome. Just making sure that everyone is seeing the chat. Sorry, seeing the thanks, John. The screen, okay. All right, let's get going. All right, when it comes to postage, which is always the pain and the you-know-what when it comes to, online business selling, actual physical products, you can, of course, go with Australia Post. And if you are starting, probably the Australia Post, the red sigils that you can buy in 500 gram, 1 kilo, 3 kilo, 5 kilos, are a pretty good way to start. And of course, moving forward, it would be ideal to really see, where most of the people you are sending stuff to. So let's just say if you are sending a lot to, capital cities, Melbourne, Brisbane, Sydney, all those main cities, then you are probably better off looking at couriers, because there are definitely people who can do better rates than Australia Post, such as Sendle, Sendle. And there are others as well. And if you're saying that, well, actually, I've got a lot of people overseas, then probably, again, initially, Australia Post might be your better bet. But moving forward, you might want to consider, overseas couriers, the larger ones, CHL and so on. I have come across that some couriers don't actually send tea, being a herb, being a plant product, overseas. But you would also find, when you talk to those sales reps, some of them really going by the books. And essentially, once they hear it's tea, it's herb material, they just basically jump ship. They just say, no, don't do it. But if you really dig in with them, with a knowledgeable sales rep, you probably will find out that actually they will accept it, but you need to pack a certain way, and there's export rules and so on. So that's a totally different kettle of fish. We won't dive in. With what we want to talk about here is basically, when it comes to different tea, they have different volume. So to give you an example, for example, an English breakfast 50 grams, you might be able to fit it into a bag that is probably, I don't have one in front of me here, but let's just say, maybe say a DL pamphlet. Let me just pull this up here. So it's like, a third of an A4 size sheet. So to fit 50 grams, that will be, pretty good. But if that's English breakfast, the more chopped up black tea. However, if you are looking at, or, Longjang, Sencha, those flat green tea, flat shaped green tea. But if you are looking at chamomile, lavender, sorry, not lavender, calendula, even peppermint, depending on how big it is, the cut size, you might need to look at something about the size. Now, the problem is that when you are presenting these products to your customers, you have two options. Either A, you have the same size bag, but the actual grams that is fitting into each bag may vary. So, you might have, let's just say this bag, right? And you use it for, English breakfast or even Irish breakfast, more chopped up. So you will probably fit comfortably 150 grams in, versus if it is peppermint or chamomile, you can probably only fit, maybe 50 grams or so. So, your customer can get a bit confused, when it comes to this, because they're all same bag. On the outside, the visual is telling them that it should be the same amount of tea inside. This is obviously a problem, but the other way to solve it, and I don't really recommend it, is simply like, imagine what we were just talking about. So your 50 gram black tea will be in a bag of this size, and 50 gram of, herbals will be in this giant bag. And of course, one thing is that when it comes to purchasing the bags, you end up buying a lot of different sizes. Basically trimming down your buying power, your bulk buying power, making it more costly for your, setup cost. But the other thing is, it's also that, people get a bit confused, why is there so many different size bags? And if you actually sell them to, gift shops and things like that, they like uniform look, so this will also be confusing. So in order to sort of kill the two birds with one stone, is you pick a bag that is sort of, in between, let's say, maybe a little bigger than your 1/3, and the outside, but a little bit smaller than your half size, which is A5. I'm just giving you some food for thought here. I mean, of course, when it comes to sourcing bags, there are only so many sizes in stock range where you go out to buy them. So you need to look at something of a compromise from a bag size perspective, but also from how much is inside sort of perspective in terms of grammage. So let's say if you can only fit 50 grams of chamomile in this particular size bag that you want, then you might want to only fit 50 grams of black tea in the same size bag. Yes, it will look a bit empty, and you just have to help customer to understand that. But if it is online business, typically it's not too much of a problem because you're posting them out. But if it is something that you're going to be presenting on a shelf or something, actually having a more physical presence. So those things probably is really worth your consideration to try to make it better, as a range to present. The other thing is also the bag itself. If it has windows, if some bag look really full and some of them where the clear area of the window is only half full, people are going to wonder about it as well. It's some of these psychological tricks, relating to the actual physical appearance of the goods is, or the package, it's really worth, some time for you to have a think about it. And of course, we can have a separate conversation, if you need some help on that as well. When it comes to postage, keep in mind that Australia Post, and just like most of the courier companies, charge typically for tea, the cubic weight, which is, your length, your width, times your depth, times 250, I think is Australia Post, but some of the other courier companies, they times it by a different factor. So it's best to actually go to your courier company and ask how they actually work out the cubic weight. Now, if you're selling cast iron teapot, then that's a different thing, because usually the cubic weight is smaller than the actual physical weight, that weight. So in that case, these transportation company are going to charge you the actual physical weight. So whichever weight is heavier is the one that they're going to charge you on. Once you get on a roll with, building a relationship, having a bit of a volume with those guys, then you can go and try to negotiate and see, for example, instead of charging you cubic, they might be happy to charge you, dead weight. So it's really worth, keeping that in mind, because like I've seen so many tea websites out there, offering free postage, or, they kind of go by item. Like, if you buy 2 items, your postage is, $10 or something. And I'm just thinking, gosh, there are so many tea businesses making a loss, from that perspective, because it is costly. And we have experimented a great deal on all the different ways of dealing with postage. And some of those I actually cover on a tea business online course that some of you might have come across. And that's another reason that I bring up this page here. So this is in our blog, and I'll show you where it actually comes from. So when you go to our website, if you scroll right down, you will see this tea business tip. And when you go to packing here, let me pull up the chat in a moment, Susan. One sec here. So this particular article talks a little bit about the tips and tricks and sealing bags, and there is also here, check out some of our packaging examples and more tea packing tips here. So when you click this thing, it's going to take you to another page, and again some more tips. Oops, I think I missed that. So here. Here's an online training, and you can click that. I won't, go through the whole process here, but there is an online course there that you're welcome to jump on and take a look. And there's a wealth of information in that. I've made it really a small, condensed version of, my 15 years of experience in the business in this tea business starter course. So take a look there. All right, so I'm coming to. Looks like it's being repeated somehow. Okay, so the question, if the tea are packed in craft bag, what do you do also in the postal satchel so it doesn't get crushed? Okay, so I'm thinking that when you say craft bag, you're talking about those pouches, zip pouches that actually on the outside has got the brown paper look. They would be obviously no different to any other foil pouches. It would get thrown around if you put it into the Australia postal satchel. So you probably want to bubble wrap it. I do know that some people actually put it in a box first. So all of those is going to add up to the cost as well as the volume, the cubic weight. So for example, let's say if you put the pouch in a box, then you send it out, then the cubic weight of the pouch no longer apply. In that case, it's really the cubic weight of the box that your courier or Australia Post is going to charge you. With the satchel, it is a flimsy plastic bag. So, I mean, if you can put it in a box, fantastic. But obviously, in cases that you can't, at least bubble wrap it. Buying tea. If purchasing tea from overseas, at what point is necessary to get involved in import duties? Import, export, a big topic. And it's probably worth our time to talk about it in a separate call, whether it's in Ask Me Anything or, maybe next one, a little bit, or more specifically in your situation. There is not only import duties, there's also quarantines and all that as well. Some tea need import permits and so on. So a big topic there. Price. What margin have you found minimum to make it a viable product? Wow. Yeah. Look, this is a really tough one to make a call on, because it's a bit like, like if I say that my minimum lifestyle involves 3 overseas trip a year, then, my minimum viable cost may not be, the same as someone who said, I'm just going to put my head down. I'm not going to go to movies or any kind of social gathering that involve any kind of eating out. There is a lifestyle question, underlying this. One of my business coach said it like this to me, and he's a bit of a numbers guy. So he's looking at across board, not exactly just with tea, but any product. So he'll say, if you buy it for $1, sell it for $3. So what that means is that there is $1 for cost, $1 like buying the tea, $1 for any kind of administrative, marketing, overheads, all that stuff. And then the third $1 is the take-home money. Now, if you can put in this healthy profit margin, obviously everyone wins. So you have to take a look at, how best to do that. And of course, like the more exquisite tea, in theory, you will get a higher margin, but at the same time, you will be selling very little, which probably means that you want to just bring in a very small quantity, which means that your postage cost for bringing it in is going to be pretty high. You might be, sending by courier, like EMS and so on from China. And what that generally means is you double your cost. So if they said to you that it's going to cost you $50 for this exquisite tea, US dollar for a kilo, when you bring it and land it in your place, this thing is probably going to cost you, $100 Australian at least, So you need to play around with that. Packing from home, government regulation, inspection. The first thing I would recommend to take a look at is food safety certification. You can get that really, really easily. In fact, I think you can get it even online. You go through a short course, answer some questions, and they give you so-called certificate. But it is really good to actually go out and learn food handling. I did a course like that. It's a half-day course. I think it was a half-day or one-day course. It was ages ago. It's not painful. A lot of them are common sense as well. So I think you will actually find that very valuable. And yeah, different councils have different rulings as well when it comes to packing tea from home. Yeah, there are again, quite a lot of, tidbits that really depending on your situation specifically. Wow, there are a lot of label stuff, barcode stuff, packaging stuff, nutritional analysis. Yeah, heaps there. So I would recommend take a look at that tea business course that I mentioned. The link is here. There is certainly some conversation and tips and tricks, insights, all that, in the course. And also there are a couple of other courses that, we have run in the past to do with some of these nitty-gritty stuff as well. So, yeah, stay tuned. I can, bring some of these on to the next call. I'm just being conscious of time. We have already talked 20 minutes on this. So, yeah, thank you for those questions. They are big questions. All right, so I want to just very briefly touch on a tea pack that we're doing. Is called Oishi pack. And the reason I want to show this to you is also we're talking about, how we can put something nice together for Christmas. Christmas is the gifting season. And so how can we create products that it's not going to cost us an arm and a leg? Sometimes it's not actually the tea cost an arm and a leg, it's all the packaging, especially when you're doing small run. So I just want to show you a couple of things, just food for thought. Okay, so the first one is, as I mentioned, is the Oishi pack, which we have just created. Let me actually go to the screen first. Then I'll show you properly on my big screen, the actual product. All right, so this is actually a partnership thing that we are doing with the Japanese Film Festival Australia, the Japanese Foundation. So inside there are like these little packets of tea in a box. and there are like 12 different packets of tea. Okay, actually, let me stop sharing screen because I want to show you these little guys here. Okay, so there are a bunch of them, right? All the different teas. You can see it on the back. And what we did is basically creating one single label. You will notice that the label is actually identical. It's just that we got, a nice felt tip and just write the name down. So if it is something that is very movable, like, you may sell it this month and may not sell it next month, this is a great easy way, rather than printing a ton of labels of all these different types of stuff, especially if you're not too wizzy with mail merge or data merge type of thing. It can really take a lot of work. And so we have got, a ton of them, well, 12 of them. And then there is basically a dressed up Excel sheet, right, with a bit of notes in it. So it becomes sort of a curated product, pamphlet to go with it. That is from the Japanese Film Festival, and then it's just a very simple paper wrapping going on the outside of the box. So I always recommend you to buy generic packaging and then dress it up, in whatever that you are actually creating, because if you're trying to have different packaging every single time, it really strips down that flexibility you have. So if you can buy a box that is plain and you can dress it up just like a tin, like a silver tin, and you dress it up each time with just something really simple, maybe just a label. Even doesn't need to be full blown like what I have that is kind of wrapped up. This is another gift set that I bought ages ago. So you can see that the actual individual pieces, of course, they look dainty. I give you that, and it can take a bit of time to create. But if you look at it from a more simplistic angle, is that, imagine this is a tin or tube or something, and then you just wrap some paper and just do a quick knot at the top. If you're not even handy like this, just a simple tin with, a label on it that is, have some kind of festive message would be sufficient. I mean, like when I open these up, I realized that actually it's just a really, really simple, design, because inside there is nothing fancy. It's just a little plastic tube or something. And at the top, yes, there is a ribbon because it's Japanese. Of course, they have to be very dainty. But here, like this little leaf, you can actually buy these in, craft shop, like Lynn Craft or whatever, if you were that way inclined. And then it's just wired. It's just kind of coiled around this, right? And then a rubber band, which you really don't need because you have got the wire. And then inside is it's just a tube. I'll just open a bit up for you to see. So if you think about a simpler version of this, and the way I think about it is, I remember when I first started, I've always been kind of crafty, so obviously these sort of things are not a big drama for me. But then I was talking to my husband about creating a business, a tea business with very gifty look to it, and he said, well, Selena, if this goes super well and someone asks you, hey, can you give me 100 pieces tomorrow or next week or something, how fast can you churn these out? And that kind of get my outer part of me kind of fire up, and that is efficiency. Where can you get productivity in doing these things? For example, ribbons, tying a bow. Yes, you can obviously sit there and tie it, but in fact, again, you can actually go and buy these already tie up as a bow, and all you need to do is just glue it down wherever. There are tons of those things around, and if you buy something generic enough, maybe let's say a gold ball, you can ribbon bolt, and you can actually use it in any celebratory, occasion, not just Christmas, and you can buy, maybe in a packet or a bag of 100 of these, and then you can use it anytime. You can even give it, to your regular customers, as a little VIP thing, it's like, I really value, your order, and, here's a very special package, inside it might be just their typical tea, but in fact, you package it up like a gift to them, would make people really feel, $1 million. It's little things like that that often helps. All right, so that's the give idea there, and again, yeah, we can talk more about it, if you want, on a separate situation or call. What about email marketing? Email marketing is something that hello, Peter. I am on a call. Here's the other half of the business. So yeah, the email marketing, considering we've only got 5 minutes left, and we did actually talk about it a few times, what I want to just get your mind going is, again, collecting your email list. Anybody who's buying from you, start collecting their emails so you can have ongoing conversations with them. It is really, 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 really important. A lot of our customers in the past, a lot of customers, I should say, started the journey with us in the past, like 10, 15 years ago. Some of them are still with us these, years. And retail customers, wholesale customers, just really obviously having authentic conversations with them is very, very important. Not just, blurb on about, sales and stuff like that. It does turn people off. Give them value, how to select tea, awesome tea places. And even, I have found even talking about like how to choose your tea supplier is actually a really good topic, in the way that you come on neutral and credible, and it's like, you are bigger than your business, because you don't mind people comparing you. And at the end of the day, this is the thing that a lot of business, small businesses, owners feel. It's like, oh, I don't want to talk about others. Oh, I don't want to touch my competitors. I mean, like, we're not bad-mouthing anyone, right? But it's just simply, having a very authentic conversation with your people, with your tribe, as if you're just talking to a friend. Like, if you're just talking to a friend and say, hey, if someone actually, if your friend asks you, oh, so how do you choose green tea, or, hey, how do you brew green tea? Mine always tastes bitter, and stuff like that. Just having those conversations, it is really, really important, I feel, to really come out in this way now, because, there are just a lot of noise in the market, and people now are looking for those personal touches that make your stuff uniquely yours. Because if you're saying, oh, fast service and good customer service, and your order is important to us, all those kind of almost corporate speak, and all those third person blah blah, people just don't care anymore. People are looking for that personal experience, someone understand them. Think about the internal dialogue they're already having before they reach you. And once they reach you, they might not be ready to buy. Most people, according to a lot of the marketing researchers out there, are saying that you need to touch these people at least 15 times. And this number keeps increasing. I remember the first time I heard it was 7 times, then it was 12 and 14 and so on. So it's about 15 times before someone would buy from you. And you could imagine you need to talk to them 15 different ways almost, or, kind of show up in some ways. It might be Facebook, it might be YouTube, it could be email newsletter, all these different places, for people to start really feeling that they want to buy from you. Of course, not everybody have the time and can be bothered to actually, really look around for a length of time. Some people might be very straightforward. and they're ready to buy. And in those cases, it comes down to how your marketings are done. So if you just, getting people, like if someone search for green tea and they hit you, chances are these people are still kind of in that researching mode, versus if someone actually write in spring harvest, dragon well, something like that, then they are obviously looking for something really specific, and there's a good chance that they are a lot more ready to buy. Maybe they are ready to buy today. In fact, maybe they have been doing some researches already. So where you enter that conversation would impact on whether you're going to get that sale. And selling those are very exquisite tea based on harvest, based on the exact plantation and things like that. In Australia, the market is very, very tiny, and you will turn off a lot of people. But it's almost a bit like you got to make the decision whether you're going to sell Tesla, and you might only get a sale maybe once a month. I really don't know what the sales figure is like for Tesla versus a Ford Fiesta, right? And those Ford dealership probably push out at least, a couple of dozen of, Fiesta every month or whatever, right? There is the difference. And this is the thing that I think it's really, really difficult for a lot of small business owners to completely settle in peace, because if you only make one sale a month, even though it makes you a good margin, and it makes you, a good profit from that sales. Let's just say you only sell one pack of tea and it's $100, but it's only one in a month. Most of us will find it's really hard to be in peace with, to settle with that whole concept of I just sell one thing or just have one order, and it goes back to the mindset of, wanting to be busy. And, you might want to, sell 10 packets or have 10 orders, and each one of them is $10, a piece. But, in the lump sum, you still get $100 sales figure or revenue, for that month, comparing to just, selling one pack of tea. And if you really sit down and crunch the number, you will realize that selling those 10 packets, it's a lot of work and a lot less profit comparing to that, one packet of exquisite tea. And it's just the same idea why we don't actually sell tea bags, because it's a volume game. And we're just not into keeping ourselves busier than what we already are. But you need to find a happy place. I hope you can see where I'm going, with this, because if you are selling the extremely exquisite tea, you will not get a lot of sale, comparing to if you're selling, mid-range or, upper to mid-range, type of tea. Australian market is, very, very small with those things. So, if you have already got, a gang of people that you are already in constant dialogue with who really love that stuff, then you have got a pretty warm market. You can start pitching that stuff. But if it's a completely cold market, I would say that, starting your tea business sales on those extremely exquisite stuff is going to be a hard slog ahead. So do think about that. And of course, where I am, if you want to have a conversation with me, I am doing a lot of tea business coaching that, having a lot of conversations similar to this, really actually finding the right niche that is going to speak to you. And of course, speaking to your tribe as well. So I welcome those conversations. Drop me an email if you want to have a chat, book a time for that. And you know where to find me, sales@tees.com.au. I'll just pop that into the chat as well. Oh, actually, I just went to private. Give me one sec. So, yeah, there are all these, the different intricacies, also depending on what you're doing, in terms of what sort of tea you're selling as well. Some of them are obviously much more stable, like black tea versus matcha is pretty volatile in the sense that it oxidizes really quickly, and there are so many different grades, and they all call matcha. Another conversation. So I'll wrap up here. Just want to see if you guys have any other questions before we wrap this up. And thank you so much for, jumping onto the call today, and thank you for the questions as well. Super. Excellent. Okay, well, thanks again. I have recorded the call. I remember to do that. So I will pop that onto our blog as well, which is exactly where I was showing you guys. So on the tees.com.au website, scroll right down. At the moment, there's just not a more obvious place. Scroll right down to the bottom where it says Tea Business Tips. That's actually the Tea Business blog. So click on that and you will get, tips and tricks there. And obviously, there are online courses that we're running as well, for people who want to, jump on and take their pace, just slowly and learning some of those bits and pieces as well. So all good, and take care. Have a fun day, and I'll catch you probably next Thursday. See ya. Bye.